Hello, welcome back to my stream. Today I'm going to show you another Protoss versus Terran, but it's going to be a different variety than the other ones I've shown you. Normally I put on early pressure, and all of my videos have been focused on trying to kill off an opponent in the early game before they get two or three bases, a bigger economy, and a bigger army. This particular game starts on way station with this huge travel distance between the two bases. So there's not, as far as I know, there's not an effective way to attack somebody in the early game. I suppose you could proxy a barracks. You could position a gateway over here or something and send in zealots early. But even that, like, the probe has to walk a really long way across the map to do that, and you're just going to be later on everything you do. So in this particular game, I decided to fast expand, which I almost never do, but it is safer on this map because of the huge distance. So after the pylon, I get 12 to 13 probes, and then I send a probe over to build my nexus. I decided to send a probe out early. The scouting, I feel, is very important when you're fast expanding, because this scout will be able to spot an army of Marines coming towards your base, a Reaper coming towards your base. If your opponent is doing something cheesy or early, then you're going to know about it, and you can either cancel this nexus or perhaps get up some defense in time to deal with whatever he's sending your way. So let's keep an eye on the units. We have equal workers at the moment, but my expansion has just gone down. And instead of expanding, he went for a Vespane gas, and he's going to build some tech structures, it looks like. So my second base is finishing up, and his is just starting, which means I have quite a bit of a lead here. We have the same amount of workers, but I'm about to start producing workers 2 at a time, and there's not much that he can do about it because I'm so far away. This is not the best idea in the world, getting a forge first, because then your defense is not going to be mobile. You're not going to have stalkers out because your cybernetics score is going to be late. But almost every Terran I've played in the past couple weeks, or maybe even the past month, has gone for Widow Mines. Sometimes they proxy them, sometimes they stick them on the low ground and float the factory over here and send Widow Mines into my base. It's extremely effective for the Terran, and it can totally take a Protoss off guard and win the game immediately. So my answer to this, one of my answers to this, is putting cannons in my mineral line. And since I got the forge early, I decided to put one cannon up front too, in case he decided to just build a factory up here and walk the Widow Mine straight into the front. This has happened to me before, and it works because the Widow Mine takes at least 3 or 4 shots from a stalker, maybe more, and the zealot can't catch up to it, so the zealot can't actually kill it in time before it burrows in your mineral line. So I'm going to speed this up. The important thing that happens in this game is when my opponent decides to build a couple Widow Mines, as I've been talking about, and send them across the map in this drop pair. He decides to cover the long distance with a medevac, which is really smart because they're fast, much faster than a ground army. And if I hadn't had this cannon, I would have lost the game entirely. But as it is, I do take quite a bit more damage from this than necessary. I looked at this drop, and I saw that he was dropping Marines first. So I was like, oh, Marines, no problem. I'll kill it with the cannon, and I'll pull some probes to attack the Marines so that they take extra damage. What I didn't see was the 2 Widow Mines that are burrowing at the same time as the Marines are dropping. And because I selected my probes, you'll see in a second, because I selected all of them, I select 15 probes to attack. They all grouped up, and there's 2 Widow Mines about to shoot, and they just decimate my probe line. It goes from 15 probes in that selected group to 2 probes. So never ever attack Widow Mines with probes, but because I didn't see them in time, I didn't realize what was happening until it was too late. You saw I tried to run them away, but I didn't have time to split, and it was just awful. I went from being up like 10 workers to being down by 10 workers. So This was a bad moment. I was a little bit upset, expressed myself, and he was a little bit happy, so he gave me a nice little smiley face. Um, I didn't feel like I was totally out of the game because I did expand earlier than him, so I decided to stay in and try to survive. And if you're in this situation and you're behind, you got to find a way to get back into it. You got to either do some damage to his SCVs. You got to do maybe you're forced to do an all-in with gateways. I decided to go for an early Colossus because the Colossus is going to do the splash damage. It's going to kill units more efficiently, and you might end up catching up in the resources. Like I lost a ton of resources and a ton of harvesting. So if a Colossus can kill a ton of Marines, maybe I can catch up. So he's producing pretty well, but one thing that he's also doing is he's floating a fair amount of resources, or he will be soon. He's doing a great thing. He's expanding as he's attacking me. Unfortunately, I had a pile. Well, fortunately for me, unfortunately for him, I had a pylon there. This is something I always like to do. Put a pylon at each of your opponent's potential third bases. For Protoss, it's great. You can warp in units and cancel it. And even if you don't warp in the units, they still have to kill the pylon, and it takes a while for that to happen, so you're delaying their third. There's going to be a series of small marine attacks that he's doing on me, but I scout them each time, and I get prepared for them. I go out to start my third, and he's right. I know he's right there, ready to stop it. But it's also an interesting position. As soon as the Terran goes down this ramp, there's no retreat for them unless they pick up with the medevacs. And most platinum and gold players, which is what I'm playing against, aren't quick at picking up with medevacs. So if they go into that position and you see them going in there, you can surround them or cut their retreat off and move in on them and potentially kill their entire army. I unfortunately walked into these widow mines. My observer wasn't in position, and I lost a few stalkers. But because my army has, Guardian Shield, 2 Immortals, a Colossus, and a few Zealots, it's a lot more efficient than his army, and it's going to do a ton of damage. I also get these widow mines for free because I do move my observer up, and I end up taking this fight really well. I lose a couple stalkers. Actually, I didn't pop my Guardian Shield. So I could have taken this fight even better, but the Colossus at the back it made a huge difference. He focused it down, but really what he should have done is just picked up his army and left and been happy with taking out that third base. So he's got a third down before me, and he's mining very well from it. And I'm not ahead at this point, but I am starting to catch up. I have 48. Actually, I'm pretty behind on workers. I spent most of this game behind, and I thought I was actually pretty even with him while I was playing it. But I keep taking these fights. He keeps walking into this location and getting trapped, losing all his units. And he's canceling my third base, but he's never killing it off entirely. Like, I'm still gaining back most of the resources from it because I'm canceling it. And he's just losing Marines over and over again. And my Colossus count is building, and he's not building any Vikings. Right here, this is a little strange, putting 3 command centers out in the open like this, with your army too far out of position to protect it. I guess his reaction time was just a little bit slower. I get a building for free, and then he comes in behind, he kills off some reinforcements, which was smart, but I killed a good amount of his SCVs, his entire army, because it trickles in. He tries a counterattack. It's a very small counterattack, so it doesn't work. And I've shut down his mining over here. Now, if you look at his base, because of the mules, he's mined out a fair amount of his base. So I guess I have 2. So I thought I was worlds ahead at this point. I didn't realize he had a massive bank. But my composition with the Colossus, a couple of Immortals, is pretty solid, and it's especially against just bio units. If he doesn't have Vikings out, I definitely have an advantage in this situation. And he's not spending his money efficiently. He's got a ton of money that he's floating, and he's just not able to get to spend it all. He's got a lot of guys in HQ, and they're not, they're not out on the field fighting. So I take another decent fight. I do lose a fair amount here, but I also kill a lot, and I kill a ton of SCVs right here. Just so many SCVs go down. He goes down to, I mean, wow, yeah, he goes down to like 30 workers, and I'm up at 60 workers. So at this point in the game, I'm actually ahead. Like, I mean, he's got these extra command centers he can use, and he can catch up, but I actually pulled ahead at this point in the game. So I guess what I'm trying to show with this game is that if you're behind just with economy, and you are able to take cost-efficient fights, you can come back. Most of the time, I don't, like, if I get that far behind, I just go ahead and leave. I say, good game, well played, and I start a new game. Because if you're drawing out a game that you've definitely lost, you're wasting his time and your time. So it's more polite, more mannered to just go ahead and leave the game and start a new one. But I felt with the early expand, if you feel like you have a good enough foot in the game, a strong enough position, then go ahead and play it out, and try to find ways to come back. Like, there's no crime in fighting from behind. So I'm just gonna speed it up towards the end. I continue to harass his third. I get a fourth base. He gets a fourth base, but at this point, I've got a really good composition. I'm starting to get Archons out. He comes in a little bit at a time. His army never is able to deal with my high Colossus count. And when you get Colossus Archon out, it's really hard for a Terran to deal with it, unless they have Ghosts and Vikings and a lot of bio. And he's not producing the Ghosts, and his Vikings never. Well, for example, in this situation, they stay over here while the fight happens across the map. So, my Colossus are extremely effective this game, and most of the time my Colossus just straight up die to Terran. I lose to Terran late game a lot. Most of my videos on YouTube will be my victories because I feel good about them and I want to show them to you, but I actually lose to Terran quite often. So this game pretty much wraps itself up. He tries to counterattack a few times, but I put a few cannons in my base, and I have my warpins, and I'm totally safe. And I just keep wrecking his economy over and over again. That's pretty much it. So thanks for watching, and please come back to my Twitch. If you go to my Twitch and you click the follow button, you'll be informed by email anytime I stream. I usually stream for a couple hours. I would love to do some extra long streams if I can get more viewers. If I can get more viewers, I'll do a 5-hour stream, or I'll do a 10-hour stream. If I got a couple hundred viewers, that'd be fantastic. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.